here, but thought we'd give you an update on Susie's situation. What's happened is the centre of the low pressure system here has developed a little bit differently than what was forecast over the last 24 hours, but it's still essentially the same. It's moved to be right alongside her, and we'll just give you a quick update on what's going on. She's doing it tough right now. She's probably got about 55 gusting higher, but the good news is the position that she's in. If you look at that, she's been there for a while, but it's at the start of the system, so the sea's building up. It's probably about 6 meters now. It's not horrifically huge like it may have been later on if she's over here, but for now we'll just focus on where she is and what's happening for the next sort of 4 or 5 hours. Very strong south southerly wind and so on. I'll just build it up. Hang on, wrong way. I'll just go down here, and if we look at what's going on with the weather now, if I click it through, every time I click this, it's going to go 1 hour onwards, and you'll see it start to move. So that's 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. While she's doing this, she's obviously actually moving further north and twisting around. So in 3 or 4 hours, she's out of the worst of it. And what you'll see is the winds start to swing to the southwest as the centre, which is here, moves down a little bit. And it'll start to abate. That purple there is about 40-45 knots, and pretty quickly, another hour, 2 hours, it's dropping back to 40. The sea will be dying down. As it swings to the southwest, she will actually start to follow it around. So, and effectively you'll see she's out of it. So she was in more or less the right sort of quadrant, the right safety arc there, and this is dying back pretty quickly. So 8 hours from now she'll be not home free. Hopefully she gets through the worst of it and no damage to the boat, and she'll be a lot more relaxed at that point. The big issue, if we come back to where real-time weather right now, just to explain, if she hadn't have taken this tactic of backtracking, her current position would actually end up being around about here, okay, where the cursor is. I'll just let that sit there and show you the ramifications of this if she was there. You see it starts to fold over her position. Now remembering these seas have been building, okay, it's all been building, and the wind is changing directions quite rapidly. So here it's just sort of like coming in from a northwesterly, and as it folds down over the top of her, two things happen. You'll just notice, you may be able to pick up here now, that there's a different tone of blue there. This is at the maximum that it goes. It doesn't go any higher. You're talking about forecast winds there of 60 knots, so it's possibly gusting 70, 75 knots. The sea state is really nasty because it's followed through. It'll be up to, in fact, I'll show you in a minute, but it'll be up to about 9 meters forecast. That means it could be 12 meters or more. Those that saw what happened to Tommy and Gregor would be saying, wow, this is exactly the same. And it certainly is. I'd have to say it's probably as good as 80% similar. And Susie was at the wrong place at the wrong time, but fortunately she decided to take that avoiding action. And if you watch this, I'll just continue it on another hour. It just folds over, and that position goes straight into the middle of it. Now when she's there, she's obviously got to run downwind with it, so she's now running across to the east, or the east-northeast, and having to stay in it a lot longer because she doesn't have the option. And remember, the sea's going crazy, and so it just continues to go over the top of her, because her position at that point would be down around here somewhere, so she'd still be in it. She got no option to try and cut out or anything like that. So, you know, I'm absolutely 100% confident that that as much as it's hard for the race because she's lost all that ground, and as much as she's getting tough weather right now, the consequences of carrying on and not taking that avoiding action potentially could have been a lot worse. So that's the name of the game. You know, you look at your options and you try and do the best you can, and that's exactly what Susie's done. So we're all sort of hoping the best for Susie. She wouldn't be enjoying it right now, no way. But at least it's the lesser of the two evils. So interestingly now, Istvan and Tapio have caught a lot of ground on Susie, of course, but they're nearly coming into the influence of this low pressure system as well. Uku's situation over here He's been trying to make northing and maintain a position along the 40th parallel here because this system's going to come right past him. And the further north he can stay, the better. But if we, again, once we start clicking this through, hang on. And while I'm here, I'll just show you a little trick. Chap, I forget his name now, Rob, God, I should have his name. But if you click on the adjuster button for the wind here and slide it along a bit, once you get there now, you can sort of animate it. You just hit your right click button, and every time I hit it once, it goes 1 hour. This is just a bit of a tutorial on how to do this. I only discovered it today. He showed me, and it's fantastic. So you can see the low pressure system starting to come across to Uku. At this stage, he's about another 8 hours ahead, so he'd be up here or underneath the R of his name. And he's going to come into the influence of it. He's going to get 50 knots, 55 knots, but he'll miss the worst of it. You can see the blue area, which is the big stuff, is underneath. By the time this system's got in this position, Uku's probably up here under the N. I'll just zoom in on this, just so you can get a fair look at what's going to happen to him. And then, now I've got to click on that again to scroll it through. So yeah, he'd be around about the N there now, maybe even up to the D, just under that. So you can see it's probably 45, 50 knots he's going to get. He just misses the worst of it, assuming the forecast looking forward actually does what it's saying it's going to do by windy. So Uku's looking all right. And right now we'll come over and have a look at Jean-Luc. Jean-Luc's getting caught in a bit of a corner here with his wind. If we come back to real time now, this whole system here has actually slowed down. It hasn't moved as fast as we thought coming up. There was no way Jean-Luc would have got across the other side of it. It's going to come eventually, but he's now, he's now sort of heading up, trying to stay out of it as best he can. And if we just start extending this forward, that's a couple of hours, 2, 3 hours is there, 4 hours, 5 hours, it's slowly coming up, 6 hours. He's still going to get a bit of breeze there. That's 55 knots, so he hasn't been able to miss it. But again, he's on the edge of it, so the sea hasn't had a chance to build up as bad as what it would if he had been sitting right here, because he would have, if you look at where my finger is, he would have been getting, a serious dose of this one coming through. But it has changed again, and that's always the risk you play when you start looking at how best to avoid things. I'm pretty certain Jean-Luc would be happy with his decisions there. It decreases the potential for damage to the boat and all those other issues as well. Coming back, let's look at Mark here. We come back to real-time weather now. Still pretty light stuff. He's only making he's actually doing well, 5 knots. He's got his light gear up, obviously. And then when we go through with this, I'll just do a couple of big ones. I'm thinking he was supposed to be having an ETA of about Saturday. But I reckon now there's 19th. He's going to get some breeze. I wouldn't be surprised if it's either late Saturday or sometime Sunday. So I hope he doesn't clash with our GGR Portraits exhibition at the pavilion down by Mawson's Hut here in Hobart on Saturday night, because we've got quite a few people coming. But Mark takes priority, so if that's what happens, that's what happens. So Mark's not got any big surprises, but just as he gets to the corner here, and I'll just blow this up, this exact same system that's nailed Susie actually comes across here. Here you'll see this is the remnants of it coming in from the side, and it'll actually come through 20th. Here it comes, the 21st. Oh, it has actually changed as well. It's slowed down, but anyway, Mark's going to get a constant favourable wind flow right to the bottom tip of Tasmania. So we'll update the ETA starting late tonight, but I think it'll be sometime Saturday. So we'll wait and see. Anyway, coming right across here, I'll just zip it back, and we'll look at Loic. Loic is enjoying the ride right now. He's got reasonably consistent winds. He's made a decision to stay at about 39 degrees south, and it's been a pretty good move. He's got quite a few days of good sailing. He's above that little patch of bad weather there. It's looking pretty good. He's going to make good average consistent times, and maybe even close the gap a bit with Istvan and Tapio. We'll have to wait and see. So he's got a few days. There's something coming up there, but I think it just keeps going to the west. Yeah, it'll probably impact these guys later on, but we'll look at that when we get there. You've probably all seen that Igor has broken his forestay. That's very unfortunate, but he's a resilient sailor. He's probably got a lot of good gear on board to make even a permanent repair. I haven't checked, but he may have Staylock type mechanical terminals, spare wire. He may be able to get up there, put that onto the masthead, cut the wire at the bottom, put another mechanical fitting on, put the rigging screw back, and he could be back to 100%. He's that sort of guy. I'm only guessing here, but certainly we'll have a look at that, and so will Igor by the time he gets to Hobart. Igor won't want to carry on past Hobart with a jury forestay, so that may have some ramifications for him in the future. Mark Sinclair, he's doing okay. They've got consistent breezes, but it's going to be still a little bit fickle if we come forward a day. There's still some holes in there that are going to show up. They were anyway. Last time I looked, yeah, here they come. So you can see there another big patch of light winds. Now, that'll be keeping Igor nice and happy. He needs some calms to climb up the mast, 16 metres high. He wants a calm sea, so that'll work in his favour. But Mark here is heading into a big hole, so he'll be about here by then. So he'll be stopping for a little while as well. Anyway, that's about it. So all our thoughts are with Susie and how it evolves and develops. So we'll keep our fingers crossed and watch with great interest. Good luck, Susie. Thanks.